Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. Over the last day or so, people have questioned our police department and my commitment to the safety of our schools. Let me be totally clear. My commitment has never wavered. In fact, it's even stronger for the 2023 school year as we prepare for more safety for our schools. Here's what we're doing. As you recall, last year, we staffed all of the high schools and we had rotating officers at the middle schools. This year, we're going to fill all 28 vacancies in the middle schools, bringing 60 officers to the School Resource Officer Program, staffing all 45 high schools and middle schools for the first time. Each high school will have 2 SROs due to their size. Also, for the first time ever this fall, we're starting a school rapid response team. It's the first of its kind ever here in Nashville. We're taking our best and highly trained personnel, which would be 14 officers and 4 supervisors, to prepare them for any type of school incidents. They'll respond to schools. They'll be on campuses where there's a threat for school violence. They'll also be there for training and other safety measures as we get through the school year. And this includes our elementary schools. That's an added presence that we'll have for that. Speaking of our elementary schools, there's 70 vacancies in our schools, and we, as an ultimate long-range goal, want to fill all 70 positions. But with that said, we have 530 square miles in Davidson County. And with the level of our staffing, we can't pull 70 officers away from the streets of Nashville, keeping our communities safe, and put them in schools at this time. So we have to be innovative in our planning. That's one of the core elements that I ask all of our officers and our executive staff to do. How can we be innovative? And so we'll continue with the school rapid response approach, but also we'll have the school safety initiative, which we had last year. So these are volunteer officers in an overtime capacity at all of the elementary schools. That will continue, it won't stop. So we take officers from the precincts, from the investigative elements, and officers who want to work overtime to be there for hours each day, in addition to our rapid response team. If you recall, we spent about $2 million on this initiative last year to keep schools safe. I didn't ask for reimbursement from schools. I didn't ask for reimbursements from the state. We absorbed this because we wanted to make sure we kept kids safe. In addition to this, our precinct commanders will be sending extra patrols to all of the elementary schools for this upcoming school year. It's another addition. Also in August, 3 days in August, we'll be training 8,500 Metro Schools personnel on active shooter training to make sure they have the best protocols and what to do if there's a situation, what we're doing as a police department, and what this rapid response team is going to do. So to say a word about the state grant, there were some questions about us not applying. We're applying for the maximum amount of funding available, which would be $3.375 million. This grant funding would be for full-time SROs. We can't ask for grant funding where we don't have full-time staff. We have asked here recently, we asked the state, and they'll get back to us, if they can fund the school rapid response team and also the school safety initiative for the upcoming year. That would be an additional $2 to $3 million, and we're waiting for that answer hopefully sometime next week. So we'll continue to do what we need to do for schools. I'll never waver on that. What we saw March 27th is the way our officers respond. When we talk about the 5 officers that went in Covenant, there were waves of officers who were going in after this. So our commitment is there. We'll continue working with schools for as long as I'm here and hopefully forever. There was also some reports last night that Governor Lee and I are at odds with each other, or he's at odds with our police department. That could be the furthest from the truth. In fact, he called me this morning as I was eating breakfast, And we talked about just this, and he understands what we're doing with our resources. He did say that he thought every school should have a school resource officer, and I don't disagree. But he understands with staffing and other measures what we have to do. I think he feels comfortable with the plans that we put in place, but we have a good relationship with our governor. We have a good relationship with the mayor's office, with our council, and we'll continue to do what we can. We just cannot pull 70 officers at a snap of a finger to put them in elementary schools. So I wanted to meet with you all today to put out what we're doing, a lot of innovation, a lot going into schools, a lot going to keeping Nashville safe, and we'll never waver. And so with that said, I'll answer any questions that you have. I just wanted to make sure we cleared the air and that you know that, because there's a lot of Nashville that wants to know that are their kids going to be safe in the upcoming school year. And we're going to do all we can to not only keep our kids safe, but keep Nashville safe too. So. Mm-hmm. Good afternoon. Yeah, thank you.
So I understand the staffing and hiring. We've seen shortages, not just here. Obviously, there's an issue. You know, you guys can't fulfill these positions. But what resources do you all need to make this happen?
So right now we're 170 officers short based on the new requirements after the fiscal budget. So they added 50 more officers. And so we have 60 recruits in the training academy right now. We anticipate being fully staffed by 2024. Once we're fully staffed, and we can begin moving officers into the elementary schools. And as we get that availability, we'll continue to do that. We're also exploring having a school assistant officer, which would be retired officers who can work in an overtime capacity, 19.5 hours a week. But we have to work with the state training. We just can't put people in schools. We've got to make sure they're trained appropriately. My goal has always been with school resource officers to not only be officers, but to be like a social worker. Find out how we can help, what's going on in families, what trauma are kids dealing with, and what services can we connect them with as officers. So that's what we're looking at moving forward. The goal is, and we'll hopefully, by the time we're fully staffed, we'll just keep adding, and then hopefully in the very near future, fully staffed. So.
Why do you think it can't be fully staffed? I know there's different reasons for, let's say, for schools, right, when it comes to those positions, but why do you think it's so difficult? Is it a money issue? Is it, balancing, kind of just like everybody in this room, work-life balance type of situation? What do you think the reason is?
So it's not a funding issue. I would never let money get in the way of safety. This is about a staffing issue. And so as you hear a lot of people say, Nashville is a city on the rise, and it continues to grow. People are coming here in droves, and crime is starting to rise. And we've done good as a police department, stabilizing everything. But if we pull 70 officers from the precincts and put them in schools, then we leave the rest of the community vulnerable. And with the way gun violence is, the prevalence of guns, and the things that we're dealing with now, we don't want to leave the rest of Nashville vulnerable. And so we have to be innovative. We're not leaving the schools vacant, elementary schools. We'll have the school safety initiative, which we had last year. Every elementary school will have officers there. We're rotating in with extra patrols, so we'll have a presence there. And then with the school safety response team, these are going to be like a SWAT team, but just have the prevalence to be mindful and have this rapport with kids. But they're going to be a very well-versed, well-trained team with all the tools necessary if we have another incident.
Hi, Chief.
Hi.
Kelly with the Tennessee Income. Why not accept that additional $5 million in funding now and start an aggressive campaign to start recruiting people? Why leave it on the table?
I wish we could. The thing is, if we accepted it right now, we would have to have those positions filled by June, I believe, 30, 2024. Otherwise, we have to give it back, and we can't accept funding if we don't have those positions. The goal is to accept all we can now, the maximum amount, and then maybe the next grant will be able to apply for it. So hopefully, as we get fully staffed, we'll seek it for next year. But we can't right now because we don't have the staffing. So, thank you.
Going back to the staffing, wasn't there at some point the elementary schools that officers were going there in the mornings as drop-offs and pick-offs and in the afternoon as well? Is that still something that you all will be doing this upcoming school year?
Right, that's a school safety initiative. Talked to several principals throughout Nashville, teachers. They were highly thankful of the presence. The officers were commendable in their actions. They had a great rapport with kids, were keeping kids safe. We had school threats. They were there to help ease that and to keep kids safe as well. So that'll continue. Those are officers in a volunteer capacity working in overtime. And as I said, we spent $2 million on that, and we didn't get reimbursed. So it's never going to be a financial thing with me. If we go over in our budget and have to ask for a supplement, and that supplement is because we're keeping kids safe, I'm all for it. So.
Chief, is there any room in the Metro Charter that would allow the Sheriff's Department to help support the SRO program?
I don't think there's language in there for that, but we're looking at every available option, and if the sheriff has the capacity, I don't think they do at the moment. That's something we'll have to discuss. Sheriff Hall and I have a good rapport, a good relationship. So we'll see how that goes moving forward. But then, even at that, they would have to be trained on how to deal with kids, how to be in schools. We don't want to cause any trauma, and so officers are well trained and want to make sure they have a good rapport moving forward, even with sheriff's deputies. So.
I have another question.
Sure.
So we understand you all National increased the police force by 50 officers. This fiscal year, and there are 69 new trainees, and yet there aren't enough officers for Nashville elementary schools. But there's enough officers to have 2 in each Nashville high school. So is there a way to maybe move some of those officers instead of having 2 in a high school, maybe put in 1 to kind of split it up, or is that not an option?
It's not an option right now because the size of the high schools and quite frankly, some high schools are pretty violent. Kids are violent, and they don't care if you have a gun on your side. They don't care if you're a principal or a teacher. So we want to make sure we keep kids safe. And so the best practice is to have 2 in each high school. And I believe having the rapid response team, having the school safety initiative is going to keep us where we need to be. Obviously, we can prepare, but you can't prepare for everything. We just hope that we have the adequate resources to respond when needed. So.
Just one final thought, Chief Drake. Parents who are reading this are seeing the numbers thrown out, they're seeing the different headlines, but what do you want them to take away from this conversation about safety as it relates to their kids going to Metro Nashville Public Schools?
Very good question, and thank you for that question. I want our Nashville community to know that we are invested in Nashville. We're invested in our school system, and we're invested in keeping our kids safe. And we'll continue to be innovative to do what we can to keep schools safe. We'll use every resource, every tactic, every innovation that we can use to keep our schools safe, to keep our kids informed. We'll use technology to make sure, because I haven't mentioned everything that we're working on, but we'll use technology to keep kids safe as well. We're 100% committed as an agency to keep our schools safe. So, thank you.
And these kids, the SROs are just in public schools, no charter schools, no.
Not right now. As we get there, we will. But we do have the school safety initiative, and that's for charter schools too. So.
Is there
Very good.
One last question. Is there anything else that we can do as, the media to help you guys that way? Some parents may still feel worried that the elementary schools don't have the same type of force. Is there anything that we can do as the media to help you guys with the staffing?
Well, we're always hiring. We just graduated a class of 28. We have 60 in the academy now. So get the word out. We want more people. We have a pretty significant raise for officers that are coming in. They're getting paid more. I've shown as the chief of police that we value our employees, and so that's we have a higher retention rate than we've had in the past. And then also, if parents want to reach out, if they have a concern, reach out to our police department. They can go straight to either the public information officer. They can contact the precincts. Every precinct has a community coordinator, which is there just for that. That's the liaison for that precinct area. And then whatever concerns we'll be happy to address.